ETF see a 15 million comeback. Best close in 10 days. Man, Grayscale has been giving the market a beating, an absolute beating. Look at what happened last week. Okay, we had so many greens, which means we had more inflows than outflows. And then you look at what happened last week, and man, we had a horrible outflow week. And that's all thanks to Grayscale dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping some more. And yesterday, Grayscale dumped some more at $350 million. But the other ETFs were able to soak it up, and you could see that's why we had a tiny little sliver of green. We had a net 15 million inflow into the ETFs versus the outflow. So Grayscale isn't helping. But you know they can only sell for so long. In about 2 weeks, BlackRock will flip Grayscale in terms of overall Bitcoin holdings. They can only sell so much. And once they permanently stop selling, you know what? Then the market is going to blow up. And this could relate to this massive pre-halving rally, right, that we will be seeing. And, you know, Hong Kong is trying to come out with their own spot ETFs. And a lot of people think that the Hong Kong ETFs will be even bigger than the US ones. There's something very different about the ones that they are coming out with, which actually can be used, I think, to redeem Bitcoins, which is kind of interesting. In the US, you can't do that, but in Hong Kong, it seems like that's what they want. But anyways, that's coming up Q2. Okay, so that's coming right around the halving event, or maybe a little bit afterwards. So think about all the buying pressure that we had so far in the US. Now amplify that even more in Hong Kong and the Asia region. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And that's also coming up in just a few months. El Salvador also taking 1 Bitcoin away from supply every single day, and they have been doing it for years. And now they have accumulated 5,700 Bitcoin, roughly worth $400 million. Of course, most people cannot buy 1 Bitcoin per day, but as a country, I think that's pretty easy to do. And through their DCAing, they have hit $400 million in a very short amount of time. That is staggering. That means El Salvador doesn't have to be as dependent or reliant on the World Bank or the IMF. That's why they were very angry when Bukele announced that he was going to adopt Bitcoin strategy like Michael Saylor. They urgently told him not to, but he didn't care. And now he's sitting pretty with almost $500 million of the Bitcoin and continues to go upwards. Also, from the whale perspective, whales and sharks have both been accumulating a lot recently. I shared how, unfortunately, a lot of the retail investors have been selling out. They've been panicked, and then they sold. And you know, that's unfortunate because guess where the Bitcoin's going? To the sharks, to the whales, to the institutions. They continue to load up while retail panics. Like, how does that make sense? You don't want to do that. You've been accumulating DCAing all these years. Why would you want to sell now? If you're looking at this, even if you don't know anything about Bitcoin, and you show someone this and you're like, okay, this is the supply of Bitcoin that exists that are on the exchanges. And if you're looking at this pattern, like, wouldn't you become really bullish? Because you're looking at it, you're like, okay, we peaked in 2020 and the supply has been dropping dramatically since then. And if this continues, that means in a few years, there will be no more Bitcoin on the exchanges. It'll basically drop to zero like pre-2014 levels, right? I mean, so how can you not be bullish about Bitcoin just looking at the reserves? The reserves keep on dropping. at a much faster pace than when it rose, right? So, I mean, it's just as simple as that. Supply and demand. There's not enough supply. There's way more demand than supply. And that's why Bitcoin will keep on going and keep on going higher. You just have to have patience. And speaking of that halving event, it's going to come in less than 27 days. 27 days and 12 hours, less than a month away. And this is the most bullish catalyst for price appreciation. As good as ETFs have been, as good as the whales and sharks have been at buying, and you know, we got some good macro factors at play too. Now we know the rate cuts are coming. All of those things are great catalysts that are driving and will drive Bitcoin higher. But the one event that is the most bullish of anything I've said and of all cycles is the halving event. You just look at the charts and you'll know. Every single time after the halving event, Bitcoin starts rising up in a big, big way. It's as if people have set a schedule of their buying to come right after the halving event. It's almost like that. And maybe it is set like that because people know it's coming. Approximate day, April 23rd, so less than a month away. Okay, and what could be happening? Well, if we're following if we're following the same pattern as we have seen before, we're going to see some tremendous gains. If you look at the right side, that's what actually happened in 2017. After the halving event, okay, things just started blowing upwards, like just crazily. Just kept on going and going and going and going and going. So this time around, I mean, the pattern looks pretty similar. Very similar indeed. But obviously the numbers are much bigger. But if this repeats what happened in a previous cycle, that means that pre-halving rally will push us to about $100,000 and beyond, right, by April, right around the halving event. And considering that we're at $70,000, it's not far-fetched. If we were sitting at $30,000 and I'm telling you guys that in a month we could go to $100,000, that's far-fetched. But considering we're at $70-something thousand and we could be in $80,000 in short order, this is not far-fetched at all. And that's how bullish the halving event is.